Hello, and welcome to Minting an NFT 1 on Ubuntu. My name is Clyde Wallace, and we're going to go through the process of minting an NFT 1 on Chia Testnet 10. For this, we're going to utilize a couple of different terminal windows, the NFT developer guide provided by Chia, linked in the description. We will start with the NFT introduction, then we'll go to minting with the RPC. Here's the minting NFTs with an RPC, and here's the introduction. I have already stored my files utilizing nft.storage, and this is how the links look from NFT storage. I'm using the gateway link. The one thing to pay attention to is make sure you are using the proper URL that links directly to your image or your other asset. This is the Chia GitHub repository where we clone all of the information. And we have two different faucets that we will use for our testnet funding. To start out, we are going to clone the Chia GitHub repo utilizing one of our terminal windows. These commands will work very similarly on a Mac as they are here on a Ubuntu system. After we clone it, we will go ahead and move into the proper directory and then install it. Now, one thing I want to point out is if you already have Chia installed on your computer, you might need to just update it or add a new directory in which to work for this tutorial. The Chia introduction guide does have a great overview as to what to do if you already have Chia installed. So if you have Chia installed, make sure you take a look at the introduction section or reach out to me through DM and I will be happy to help you out. If you'd rather use a packaged installer, there are also instructions within the Chia guide for accessing the CLI commands we will use. Here is the installation command that we will be running. And I have sped up this installation to make it a lot faster on this video. No need to have everybody sit around for a few minutes while I'm waiting for this to install, but you will notice that it'll take a little longer once you run it. After it is installed, we're going to activate the virtual environment. This will let us interact with the Chia commands themselves. You'll note that we are in an active virtual environment with the VENV indicator on the far left. And we're also going to install the GUI here. Now, one difference between the Windows installation of the GUI and the Linux installation of the GUI is that on the Windows installation, you actually have to move to the GUI directory in order to run the GUI. On Linux, you get to stay in the Chia blockchain directory, and I'm going to show you kind of what happens if you try to move into that GUI directory as well. But once again, I've sped up the installation process so that you guys do not have to sit through watching it install. In order to keep everything straight, I like to have multiple terminal windows. I'm going to utilize one for the GUI, one for different file hashes that we're going to derive, and then also one just to interact with the Chia client itself. And I'm going to have one for logs also here. So there's that command that I was telling you about, the bash start command. Now, if you're on Windows, you would have to actually do this first, where you move over to the GUI directory, and then you run, it's actually a npm command on Windows. In Linux, and I believe also in Mac, you do not need to do this, so you can move back to your previous directory, and then we can run that bash command. You'll notice once we launch that, it's going to go ahead and open up the GUI for us, start the necessary services, and based on opening GUI in the past, it might prompt you whether you want wallet mode or farming mode. We only need wallet mode for this, we do not need a full node. You will notice that I already have a few key sets. I'm just going to close down the GUI and we will come back to it later. So I'm going to move this terminal window off to the side and bring in a new working terminal window here. In this new working terminal window, I can do similar steps in order to move to the Chia blockchain directory and then activate the virtual environment once I'm in that directory. On my GUI window, I am just breaking the previous command so that I can get access to that terminal window again in the future here. In our working terminal, I'm going to activate that virtual environment. And just to make sure that everything's working properly, we can run a Chia command. If you have not set up any keys, you might need to run Chia init right there. That'll create your config.yaml file. You'll notice that I already have a couple of key sets. I ran Chia keys show. And take note of the unprotected SSL file warning. If you get this, just run the command that's listed, and it's going to update the settings on that SSL file to make sure that it's secure for you. You can run clear to clear out the terminal window and make things a little easier to navigate. This is the very important step. We need to configure our instance of Chia to operate on testnet. So run Chia configure --testnet space true. And then we can also run Chia version. Make sure that you're running a Chia version that will support the NFT standard. I'm going to generate a new key set for this. So Chia keys generate, and we're just going to utilize that new key set. In the Chia directions, they say show mnemonic seed when you're running Chia key show. I never like to show my mnemonic seed. That is your 24 words, and that is your passcode to your wallet. Do not show the 24 mnemonic phrase to anybody, but do make sure that mnemonic phrase is saved somewhere. I ran Chia key show, and I'm copying the first wallet address of the new key that I created. And that first wallet address I'm going to add into both of our faucets here to receive some funding. The XCH Dev faucet is community developed by Steve, and it will give you 10 TXCH. The Chia faucet itself is operated by the Chia network, and you do have CAPTCHA. It'll provide you 1 TXCH. Each faucet has its own limitations as to how many or how much TXCH you can get, but we want to go ahead and receive funding, so we're going to submit the faucet request now. The next thing that we're going to do is start the wallet itself. When we had run the GUI, it actually did start the wallet, but when we closed out the GUI, it actually shut down the wallet for us. So we're going to run Chia start wallet. You'll notice that I do have the info logs appearing in my command terminal here. I'm going to utilize another terminal so that I can still access the logs on the background, but I'll change that in just a second. You'll notice that even with that there, you can still break out of those and run additional commands while those logs are still appearing. Not recommended, just because you might get a little confused, and as you notice there, you might have commands that are intermixing with those log files themselves. So just one thing to keep an eye open for if you are running on a Linux device or on a Mac device, you might have those logs set to appear in the exact same terminal instance. When running Chia Wallet Show, you'll notice that we can see all of the different fingerprints, and the fingerprints are how the mnemonic keys are identified. We're going to want to just utilize the newest one we created, so I'm going to make note of that fingerprint itself. And I just put it in the other terminal window to keep track of it for use later. If running Chia Wallet Show without a fingerprint, it'll prompt us for which fingerprint we want to use, or we can use the -F flag to specify the fingerprint. When looking at Chia Wallet Show, make sure that not only does it say syncing for sync status, but you have actual connections and you're downloading data from those connections. If you're not, you need to look at your network setup and make sure the ports are opened up, or check a couple of the config files. If you have issues with that, feel free to reach out to me. Running a full node can also help with sync times and connections with the wallet itself, but you will need that wallet database. So that's what all these steps in the Chia guide are for, is that full node, but we're not going to use the full node, we're just going to use the light wallet. The Chia guide then goes into the GUI install and open setup, but where we're going to go next is obtaining images with corresponding hashes. So I already have my image stored on nft.storage. I will have the link to that image in the description below. And I also have my metadata and my license files stored via nft.storage. So here's me switching from this terminal window that has the logs to a new terminal window. And you'll notice that it's pretty nice to work with the Chia client, so long as you're not running commands that are going to countermind one another. You can really have a few different terminal windows open to separate your tasks. Move to the proper directory, and we activated that virtual environment again. Plus, we can open up Chia Keys Show or Chia Wallet Show in order to verify that that sync status is still what we saw previously. And there we go, we have connection back to that Chia node or Chia wallet. So to mint our actual NFT, I like to utilize a JSON file. We can put all of the information directly into the command line, but I find it's a lot easier to break it up if we have a JSON file. So here's the JSON file that we're going to use. In here, you're going to see I have a lot of data filled in. I have the royalty address, the target address, the URLs, the hashes, and I'm going to remove everything that is going to be specific to our file hashes and the steps that we're going through today. Your series total is going to indicate the total number of NFTs in this collection. The series number is going to indicate this NFT's place within it. You can also add fees to your transaction, and the Chia guide does have an example of fees that you can utilize for Chia NFTs, and it's based on whether or not you're doing it with or without DIDs. Do take note that the fees listed in the guide are in the millions, so you would have to add it in the millions, and that fee counter is in mojos. Lastly is the royalty percentage. This is 1,000 times your actual percent. So a royalty percentage of 5,000 is really going to be a 5% royalty. Back to the Chia guide, we're going to move to the curl commands for obtaining the image hashes. And it's a pretty simple command so long as you're using the proper URL. So again, the URLs that I'm using are from the gateway option within nft.storage. And I made sure to pull the proper URL that links directly to my file. With nft.storage, a lot of the time it'll provide you the URL to a folder in which your file is stored. Make sure you get the URL to your folder itself. The command we're going to run is curl, our URL, pipe, and SHA-256 sum. Our URL does need to be within quotations, but that's the command that you need to run, and you'll notice that I just copied the hash and added it to our JSON file. We're going to do the same thing for the metadata URL and also the license URL. Curl, our URL, I need to make sure I add quotes to this. It is very important to ensure that this is seen as a string, so we need to add our quotations. This also helps with any oddities that might be within the URL. And there's our SHA-256 sum after the pipe character. Depending on your storage option, you might find that the pinning service does not load as quickly for these file hashes. Many of the marketplaces and explorers have longer timeouts than this curl command might. So do take a look to see if you need to pin your IPFS links or if the pinning is provided for you. nft.storage provides the pinning service for you. We have now derived all of our hashes, so let's look at the royalty address and the target address. What we're going to use is that same first wallet address that we use to fund our wallet. And we're going to run Chia Keys Show in order to pull up that information and copy it directly in here. The target address is the address to which you are going to be minting the NFT. So if you're minting on behalf of another user, you could change that target address to another user's wallet. Be careful with this because you are minting it into their wallet and you will not have access to it. They will be the ones with access. For the royalty address, this is where you could even add a ChiaLisp smart coin contract puzzle to say automatically split those royalties across multiple parties. But we're just going to use that first wallet address. That should be the standard for most creators out there. Now that we have the majority of our information ready in the JSON file, we need to create the necessary wallets. You'll notice we have a standard wallet currently under wallet ID 1, but we need to have a DID wallet and also an NFT wallet. So at the end of the guide, it talks about different file storage. We're going to go into the minting with RPC commands. And pay close attention, the command that's listed in this guide is actually incorrect. It says to create an NFT wallet. We're going to start out by creating a DID wallet though. Instead of utilizing the RPC commands for creating these wallets, we're going to use the straight CLI commands. And you'll notice just Chia Wallet has the options for DID and also NFT. Under Chia Wallet DID, we have the ability to create, get DID, or even set the name of the DID wallet. So under Create, we have the options for fingerprint, name, and fee. We're going to utilize the fingerprint that we saved up top and run that command. We're also going to name this a DID test wallet, just so that we can see what happens with that name and the aftermath. Naming it is really to help the end user better identify what their wallets are for and what they're being used for. You'll note that it does have a success message appear, and we can run Chia Wallet Show, and now instead of just having the standard wallet, we also have a decentralized ID wallet, and it has this particular DID ID. I'm going to copy this and add it to our top terminal window as well, because we're going to want to use this for setting up our NFT wallet. When setting up an NFT wallet, you have the option to set it up by itself or set it up in a way where it refers back to the DID. So let's look at the Chia Wallet Create. And you'll notice that there's a flag for the DID, as well as for the fingerprint and for the name once again. So we're going to create this NFT wallet utilizing our fingerprint. We're also going to add in the DID ID. This is the identifier we got after creating our DID wallet. And you want the entire thing for DID, Chia, and the actual hash in there. That standard is kind of based off the larger community standards that are being developed for DIDs in general. And for the name, we're going to call it NFT Test Wallet, just to keep things a little bit standardized for us. Great, we've created the NFT wallet, and we're going to run Chia Wallet Show again with the proper fingerprint. And you'll notice now, not only do we have the standard wallet, the DID wallet, but we also have an NFT wallet. Pay close attention that that DID wallet has an amount of 1. That's because it actually costs 1 mojo to create a DID. So you'll also see that our standard wallet has decremented by 1 mojo. The NFT wallet does have a direct identifier to that DID itself, but what we want to look at is the NFT wallet and the wallet ID of that NFT wallet. So our wallet ID here is number 3, and that is the last piece of information we need in our JSON file. Again, this JSON file is just the information that we could add into the command line, but I like to keep it in a JSON file to keep it a little cleaner and easier to work with in the future. There are 2 options for minting an NFT. You can mint one without a DID, or you can mint one with a DID. I always recommend minting an NFT with a DID because that is going to be providing the provenance behind the NFT itself, helping you really identify who the creator was and who each of the owners are. If you look at the mint command, the data that is after NFT mint NFT is everything that we're storing in our JSON file. And if you look at the actual command itself, you'll notice that we do have a JSON file flag. But I hope you all are ready, because we are just about to mint our NFT on Chia Testnet 10. We're going to utilize that Chia RPC wallet NFT mint NFT command. We're going to flag it with J for our JSON file. And this is where we're storing our JSON file. So you'll notice all I'm going to do is copy the path directly from properties here, feeding it all the way back to the home directory. And I'm going to add our particular file name, which in this case is cw22 _data.json. So after this JSON flag, I'm going to add in the property, the file itself from properties, and that file name at the end of it. This is essentially saying I want to mint an NFT with the information based on this JSON file. There we go. We have a success true message. One thing to take note of is that this success true does not mean your NFT is minted. This success true means that the spend bundle has been created and submitted to the mempool. By spend bundle, I mean all the information above here. You have the puzzle reveals, the solutions, and the individual coin information on top of that. You'll note spend bundle, and if you really want to break this down, you can see where all of the different coins went and what occurred with them. If you're into Chia Lisp and want to better understand the blockchain, take a look at the great documentation that the Chia team has regarding Chia Lisp puzzles. The last thing that we can do here, going off the guide, is to show our NFTs. Now, depending on the block size, this might not be available right away. Do update your wallet ID to make sure you're pulling from the correct wallet ID. But look at this. Our NFT has already been minted on Chia Testnet 10. It'll show all of the on-chain data directly in the CLI for us. But it's one thing to look at a bunch of data in a CLI, and it's another thing to actually be able to see your NFT. This is why we went ahead and installed and set up the GUI previously. So what we're going to do now is actually open up the GUI and take a look at our NFT. This is our terminal window where we had launched the GUI previously, and we're just going back to it to run that one command to launch the GUI. We're going to click on the fingerprint that we have been syncing. You'll notice that our total has decremented by 2 mojo, one to create the DID and one to create the NFT. In the Chia client, it might not necessarily show all of the data properly, so I recommend looking at the different marketplaces to seeing what they display as well. Mint Garden is not displaying the title or other metadata information. However, if we look at it on SpaceScan has properly identified the title as well as different properties. This is all based on the metadata file format. There is a link in the description with the current status of the off-chain metadata file format. So take a look at that document for how to format your metadata to ensure that the marketplaces and the Chia client are properly identifying or presenting your information. We minted on Chia Testnet, and I believe the Sky NFT team has stopped syncing the testnet node currently. So we're not going to see it on their site, but you will see it on Mint Garden, you'll see it on SpaceScan, and once NFT launches, you'll see it on there as well. But thank you for joining us for minting an NFT 1 on Chia Testnet 10, utilizing Ubuntu. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. My name is Clyde Wallace, and join the XCH Foundation Discord with the link in the description. Have a great day. Bye.